I came at around 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Now it's moving very fast.
Okay.
But we stayed in a line for quite a long time. To elect our own leaders. Just to keep peace, to keep stability, and to make sure that those that are leading us are performing.
You are determined to make sure you cast your vote.
I feel like it's important to have your voice heard, especially as you become an adult and you become informed within society. You must know that when you vote, you are going to be having your voice heard. Your choice is going to be immediately determining what's going to be happening within the country. So you have to take care and know that, okay, if I don't vote, then someone's making my decision for me. So that's why I feel like it's important to be here, to be in the queue, and to do your part.
I had a conversation with somebody today, and they said, look, it's not fair that people are registered for 2 or even more days, but they are only given 1 day to vote. Do you agree with that sentiment?
I agree very much with the sentiment. If you could maybe give us 2 days, understand, it will be very good. But we can change the rules and regulations of the country. If anything stipulates that's how it must be done, then we just have to follow suit.
Good afternoon to you, Namibia. It's Sunday, the 1st of December, 2024, slightly after 2 o'clock. My name is Denver Kisting. I'm coming to you live from the Central Election Results Center here at the headquarters of the Electoral Commission of Namibia in the Namibian capital here in Windhoek North. Now, we do know that thus far, the Electoral Commission of Namibia's chairperson, Dr. Alsini Kembwa, has released results for 10 constituencies as far as the presidential race is concerned, and for 15 constituencies as far as the National Assembly contest for seats is concerned. Both the chairperson of the ECN, but also the Chief Electoral and Referenda Officer, Mr. Peter Sharma, did say the pursuit is to share results as soon as possible with the Namibian nation. It has been 4 days since Wednesday, the 27th of November 2024, but we have to bear in mind is that they follow a very serious due diligence process. They have to be meticulous, they have to be rigorous to ensure that what is finally announced to the Namibian nation from the Central Elections Results Center is a true depiction of the reality on the ground. So we have seen a number of takes from different nuanced angles. We have seen how many of you are trying to infer the bigger picture, but we have to bear in mind is unless that bigger picture becomes finally available, we have to take it step by step. We have to go through it systematically. The expectation is, that was the indication this morning, in the early hours of the morning by Dr. Nyikembwa, before she closed the press conference here at the Central Elections Results Center, that more results will be made public during the course of the day. Our mission remains, our commitment is intact, that we will keep you abreast of developments as they unfold, bearing in mind that our mission too is to limit ourselves to developments that have been confirmed, to developments that are officially in the public domain, because that is how one goes about this process responsibly. The chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Namibia, Dr. Alsini Kembwa, also shared with the Namibian nation that all polling stations that were open on Friday and Saturday on account of the extended polls were closed by 9 o'clock last night. All the polls that were part of the extended polls were closed by 9 o'clock last night across the country. Now, what they did say during the course of the afternoon when the CEO addressed the Namibian nation is that they will only announce results once those polling stations have been closed, because they did not want those who still need to cast their vote to be influenced by results that were announced. Now, as we await further results during the course of the day, we would at this juncture like to unpack the results that are known in those limited constituencies in the presidential race and the limited constituencies as far as the National Assembly is concerned. And what we do know about some presidential candidates is that, and their parties, that they were part of the previous elections in 2019, but also part of that election's predecessor elections in 2014. So what we would like to do at this juncture is to see what the developments have been between 2014 to 2019 and between 2019 to 2024. Certainly, if a presidential candidate enters this race for the highest office of the land for the first time, he or she will have no results for 2019 or for 2014. Equally, if a party is brand new, such as the AR, such as the IPC, they will not have results for National Assembly for 2019 or for 2014. Now, if we take a look on our screens here at the background, and we start with a picture on a national level, as it has been announced thus far, it's very important to continuously reiterate that context. And nationally, we take a look at what the picture looks like, and it shows that as far as Soapa Party is concerned, the national total of votes stands at 54,705, and that shows thus far a reduction of a reduction from 65.45% to 55.72%. Again, it's a depiction of the picture as it currently stands. We are far away from the full picture. But if we have regard specifically on that end, between 2014 and 2019, we see in 2014 the total was 80%, 80.01%, and then there was a reduction in the following election year, being 2019, to 65.45%. The IPC, and that's what I explained earlier, that let me just have a look at what's with this. Well, the IPC did not participate in the previous elections, so this is where they stand. So whatever they get in terms of the number of votes would be an increase, because they would have started at 0% because they did not participate in 2019 or 2014. Perhaps we can go into... Well, technology does not want to cooperate at the moment. If we have a look at the PDM, we see that the confirmed total in 2019 was 16.65%, which was an increase from the 4.8% in 2014. Again, as far as the current picture is concerned, which is not the complete picture yet, that will only happen once we have the final total results. It appears to be a reduction of 5.64% at the moment. But we must remember to compare apples with apples and not apples with pears. Well, before we get into more of these analyses in a bit, we've also invited an analyst, that's veteran journalist Kai Matundu, to help us understand the picture at the moment as it unfolds. We did touch base with him a couple of days ago, but seeing that there have been significant developments in the meantime, we'd like to hear how his nuance take has perhaps remained intact or how it has shifted. And once we say goodbye to him in a bit, we'll get back to the screen for some more analysis. Please keep it locked here on your home channel. Again, what is in the public domain, Namibia, is that the chairperson of the ECN announced some results, 10 constituencies for the presidential race and 15 constituencies as far as the National Assembly is concerned. And although we are unable to get the bigger picture or the final picture at this stage, we would like to have a picture as it stands at the moment. And we've invited for an analysis a veteran journalist, Mr. Kai Matundu Shiparura. Good afternoon, sir, and welcome to this special broadcast.
Good afternoon, Mr. Kisting, and good afternoon, Namibia.
What do you make of the results thus far?
Obviously, what we have seen so far is that SWAPO is leading. And personally, I'm not surprised because some people have been having the idea that SWAPO this time around, other political parties might be giving it, a run for its money. But I found no reason why people have been believing that this time around, even to the extent that believing that SWAPO might lose, because I don't understand and I don't see what gives them that optimism, because there might be problems in the country, which of course, some of them might be the making of the SWAPO itself as the governing party. But those problems, in the eyes of the electorate, might have been to them just a matter of part of ordinary problems that any government at any particular time goes through. And some people might have been disgruntled, but their disgruntlement might not necessarily have translated into shunning, away SWAPO, because to most of them, it might still be a case that SWAPO may be the devil, better the devil you know than the one that you don't know. Yeah.
Do you have a sense, and I think we need to reiterate throughout that it's still early days, right? Do you have a sense that Namibian voters are perhaps tribal voters and voting for their preferred candidates based on that?
I think we must be very careful when you use the term tribal, because when you say somebody is tribalistic, it means there's an intent. I don't think, there's any political party in this country that has been created or established with a tribal intent. Most of the political parties in Namibia have some particular tribes, or I might say not necessarily tribes, but regions as a base. And that is due to some historical exigencies, some of them which can be attributed, to colonialism and apartheid. That is not to say that when those parties were formed, it's because they had, tribal intents. Let me give you a particular example. The National Unity Democratic Organization, NUTO, has got its base among the Ovaherero or Wambanderu people, whatever you might want to define it. Not because it has got a specific, tribal intent to advance those people, but because of the cause that it was pursuing. This cause was, for instance, land. And who were the people mostly affected, by land disposition, whose land has been taken away? They are the Ovaherero and Wambanderu, and also Nama people whose land, were dispossessed. And if that was the intent, then you cannot say that was tribal. And the same can be said about SWAPO. As you know, SWAPO was originally called the Ovambo Land People's Organization, not because it was created exclusively for Ovambo people, but because the Ovambo people that time they suffered mostly under the contract labor system, and that was the intent to advance and to fight for their rights. So that is not, there's nothing tribal about that. The only problem is that if we have to see these, being perpetuated even in a free Namibia where we are supposed, to have shun of, tribalistic, inclinations or intent.
Or historical inclinations, as you also call it. Thank you for that very important overview. But and as far as your last point is concerned, if the shackles of that historical context still limit us, perhaps in our approach to modern day politics, would you say it plays out that in some regions that is still the lens through which the voter views the process, and that's still the candidate that they would prefer, notwithstanding any other developments?
Actually, let me say, this is not the picture the way we would like to paint it. Because, for instance, I've just been listening, to one constituency, which is the Ochombinda constituency, which is basically Chiherero speaking, constituency, but the outcome has been in favor of SWAPO. Now, how would you explain that? That means, tribe has got nothing to do with it.
So how would you explain such a development if we're excluding tribalism in that regard? Because this is what the results say, and those are the final results for that constituency. How, in those instances, has our democracy matured? Has our democracy grown, where we are able to move away from that historical context that you explained to us earlier?
Let us take, for instance, when we talk in terms of the regions, let's take the four O's regions. Those were the seat of battles as waged, by the South African Defence Force. And the people who bear the brand of those battles were the people living in the north. And to them, up to this day, they carrying that scar deep in their souls, that they would not want to see a return to those days. So to them, SWAPO still, represent, not a return to those days. Yeah, and that is what might have been driven them. And as far as I'm concerned, there is something that we rarely put value or premium on, and that is the freedom. Compared to the colonial period or the period of the Liberation War, people in the 4O regions hardly had any freedom, let alone the freedom to move freely and to go about their business. But today, they can do that. And that is something,
freedom to political association.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And that is something, they very much still put, premium on, to the extent that they would want to vote, SWAPO, so that they don't return to the old days, which were very bad days.
Thank you for that take. Now, one of our challenges has always been voter apathy, and there have been different analyses about what it is attributable to, and different hypotheses and theories have been advanced. It would appear, and again, the repeated refrain, it's early days, but as far as those declared constituencies, 10 for presidential and 15 for National Assembly, as far as those are concerned, that there appears to be a greater voter turnout. And I think when we touched base with you a couple of days earlier, you had also mentioned that there appears to be an increased anticipation around these elections. Mm-hmm. Do you foresee that if we are to get the final results, that the number of voters who turned out this time around would be higher percentage-wise compared to previous elections where we battled voter apathy?
I wouldn't be able to say that, but
yet,
from what I have been seeing in terms of the turnout at the polling stations, there has been quite, a number of, a big turnouts. That's why, some of the people, were almost, excluded from voting because time has run out because of these, big number and long queues. And I think that is basically because, there are many reasons why people, have been, we have seen such a big turnout. And perhaps that is due to the large number, because as you might be aware, a large number of youth registered for these elections, which is about 50 to 60%. And those are new voters, and they might be excited to vote, not for the sake of voting, because of the situation the youth currently in Namibia find themselves in terms of socio-economic conditions, like, for instance, unemployment. They are hoping, irrespective of who comes, to power, that those people, that government will look at their plight, one of them, which is unemployment.
You're making such an important point as far as the youth is concerned, that if they were to vote, they would not only vote for the sake of voting, they would vote intentionally. Is one to infer that there are indeed people who, for whatever reason, just vote for the sake of voting?
Not for the sake of voting, but in terms of loyalty. Because there are some voters
of the prevailing situation.
Yeah, there are some voters, who are loyal, to their political parties or formations, and irrespective of the circumstances, irrespective of the fault lines of their political
It's a signal battle. Welcome back, Namibia. Thank you so much for staying with us. It's Sunday, 1 December 2024. If you just joined us, a very good afternoon to you and yours. My name is Denver Kisting. We're coming to you live from the Central Elections Results Centre here at the Electoral Commission of Namibia's head office in Windhoek North in the Namibian capital. Our sincere apologies for that earlier technical glitch. We are in conversation with veteran journalist Mr. Kai Matundu. Sir, your point around some who may not be voting intentionally from the perspective of a young person, but be voting very purposefully this time around, versus those whose vote is primarily a loyalty vote. Could you just walk us through that explanation again, please?
I was especially referring, to the traditionalist. That means, the elderly people who have, their political socialization is based on these various political parties, which means, they have known these political parties since their childhood.
Their minds and their hearts can never be changed.
Exactly.
Irrespective of what happens.
Exactly. They have grown into that because this is one thing, that we tend to overlook is the political socialization. Where anybody is attached to any political party because of it comes from time immemorial, runs into his or her family.
That's the point I wanted to touch on. So it runs across generations.
Yeah, exactly.
Does that mean, based on my affiliations, my children necessarily,
Exactly.
my grandchildren even,
Exactly.
would buy into that ideology?
Exactly. They would want to continue the legacy of their parents.
What?
That is, the traditionalists. But now, in the modern age, this is no longer the case among the young people because,
You're
for
again
instance,
preempting my next point. I was going to say, what circumstances would warrant, or where do we see a deviation from that norm?
Yeah. It depends on consciousness. To what extent, anyone is conscious about the issues pertaining to his or her material conditions. And like, for instance, as I pointed out, in terms of the youth, their biggest concern now is unemployment. And obviously, they would vote anybody who promises them jobs without, hesitating. And that will be the defining thing, not whether you were engaged in a liberation movement or you have got, nice ideologies.
But generally,
because ideologies in themselves, they are meaningless. It depends on whether people, to what extent they believe your ideology is feasible
because
and
generally all political
relevant
parties
to
promise
their
jobs.
material conditions.
But generally, Mr. Matundu, all political parties do promise their voters jobs,
Yeah.
including their young voters.
And this is where we have got a problem in Namibia. That's why it's very difficult, to distinguish between the various political parties, because all of them, they are making promises, and that's why it's even difficult, for the voter. Why would I want to vote Mr. Kisting, who's promising, jobs, rather than, returning SWAPO to power to continue to see whether they can, deliver jobs. Yeah. As I pointed out earlier, better the devil you know. That might be the attitude of some voters.
But is it not a contradiction? Hearing you say it was the view of some Namibians, be it in the social media space or elsewhere, be it a perception or the reality, that there's a new dispensation en route. And when you did say earlier that based on the results that we're seeing thus far, that picture or that prediction does not appear to hold any truth. Yet you're telling us at the same time that this perception of voting what your father and your grandfather had voted may be changing based on your needs at the moment. And the needs of young people primarily revolve around unemployment. So how can we then know at this early stage that there will be a different picture or not?
I've never said, that there will be a different picture. Because as far as I'm concerned, and based on the results that we are seeing now,
no, absolutely,
we are seeing the trend.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
I'm asking. That's in fact what you did say, that there will not be a different picture. But I'm saying based on a large constituency of registered voters being young people, 900,000 of the 1.4 million registered voters, and we are yet, of course, to see how many of them turned up. If their challenge is unemployment, and you're saying it also depends whether or not a political party serves their interests in terms of their present needs, we do not know the extent to which that might influence the rest of the constituencies of which the results are still pending. That's my question.
Yeah, it depends on when we're talking about young people and the relevance of any political party to their material conditions. It depends on the confidence they may have in any political party. Because there might be the case that their perception might be formed by the belief that any given, political party might not have a chance of coming, to power and delivering to my material conditions. But why not? I try and reinvest my confidence in the party that is already, and to see whether it can deliver or not.
I hear your point.
There might be an attitude of some.
Yeah. I hear your point. Or on account of not knowing whether or not a political party will address my immediate pressing needs, such a prospective voter may decide not to participate for that very reason, to being uncertain about whether or not the party will meet my needs or a party will meet my needs.
Yeah. And as I pointed out, the problem has been that simply one thing that I have noticed that is lacking in Namibia is a credible alternative to the current, government that has been running the country.
And that's your perspective?
That is my perspective.
Yeah. I wanted to go a bit deeper without belaboring the issue around voter apathy. But based on your earlier explanation on how the trend has been the traditional vote, right, and that loyalty exists based on the lived experience of those who had endured what they did endure, and that has been passed on from generation to generation. Are we to infer, and again, it's early days, that it doesn't matter whether there's a larger turnout or there's a lower turnout, the results will stay the same? Is that your view?
Yeah, because as I pointed out, there hasn't been any credible alternative. So what would be the reason, for anybody else not to continue with the trend if she or he believes that I don't see any other alternative from the current, party that has been running the country.
Very well.
And it would have been incumbent upon the other party who wants to assume the reign of power to make themselves, credible, rather than making, empty promises, most of which, they have been making seems to be empty promises.
I would like us to briefly take a look at the extended polls. Now, the ECN has at more than one occasion explained to us the rationale behind the extended polls. They've conceded that there were serious challenges, and on account of those challenges, this these extended polls came about. They've also explained to us at more than one occasion why specific polling stations in specific constituencies, not across the country, but in only in certain parts of the country, were available for these extended polls. Yet the Commission has come under fire that those polls that were part of the extended polls were primarily a stronghold of the ruling party. What would you make of such criticism?
You see, let's appreciate that this has been a very complex and difficult situation in which the ECN has been in terms of, seeing the long queues and some people, nearly having been excluded from exercising their democratic right. They had to rationalize. They could not carte blanche extend, polling all over the country for many reasons. Cost, for instance, and also the most important thing is, would there have been a need for them to have extended? There are people who might say that the extension should have applied to the whole country.
Can we just park there for a very brief moment? And pardon my devil's advocate role, sir, but I think one needs to ask this. All things being equal, and cost is the only consideration, is that justified? If we are saying that everyone in the country who wanted to vote couldn't vote because of these reasons, and those reasons apply to all 121 constituencies across the country, should cost then be enough of a reason to say that we cannot open up all the polling stations across all 121 constituencies only because of cost?
It cannot be.
Very well.
Because democracy is expensive.
Indeed.
And especially an exercise like, elections, it's a very important tenet
And that's no
of
secret.
the democratic dispensation.
And that's no secret.
Therefore, the ECN should go to every extent of, making sure that everybody is included. Because when we're talking about, the Namibian House, where does it start? The Namibian House, that does not exclude anybody.
Absolutely.
It starts exactly with the elections.
It's always such a learning experience to be in your company, sir, and we appreciate your time. We appreciate you sharing your wealth of experience with us. Any final thoughts this afternoon before we let you go, please?
That I can say is that it's too early. We must just be calm, wait and see and hear. I'm sure the ECN would not, having gone through the experience it has gone through, it will be treating very carefully to deliver what it needs to deliver. Not at all. Every time.
They have it, veteran journalist Mr. Kai Matundu Shiparuro, saying to us that we need to bear in mind that it's still early days. He says we need to be calm and we need to wait and see as the ECN fulfills its constitutional mandate. We'll be back with more conversations in a bit. Please keep it locked here on your home channel. Welcome back. We are coming to you live from the Central Elections Results Centre here at the headquarters of the Electoral Commission of Namibia. Now, as we continue to dive into the unfolding narrative of Namibia's 2024 elections, just last night, in fact, closer to the wee hours of this morning, the Electoral Commission of Namibia's chairperson announced the first batch of results representing about 8% of the ballots in the presidential race and about 12.3% of those in the National Assembly race. These results have already sparked discussions about the dynamics shaping the election. To help us unpack these developments as they stand at the present moment, veteran political analyst Dr. Kai Matundu now joins us this afternoon. Good afternoon, Doctor, and welcome to this special broadcast.
Yes, thank you.
What do you make of what is happening in this democracy, particularly during this week, starting already on Wednesday, 27 November 2024?
Well, let's start on a positive note. A lot of interest by the people of Namibia to participate in the democratic process. They have been very patient.
Have they been, Doctor?
They have been patient, standing in the queues for a long time. Of course, there were incidences of agitation, but nothing extraordinary. And I think what is interesting is the commitment to cast their vote and to determine their future. I think that argues very well for our democracy, that the people are participating and are committing to participate, and they persevere in spite of all the challenges.
Speaking of queues, we engaged an analyst who was here on the ticket of the Hans Zeidel Foundation, Mr. Klaus Hess, and who's been following elections in Namibia since 1989. And he shared with us, queues are not new to us and are certainly not peculiar to us. And they've already been queues since 1989. And again, according to him as well, it is a depiction of that interest that you were talking about. In terms of the challenges that were experienced other than the long queues, we have seen an extension of polls at some polling stations in some constituencies. What is your take on that specific development, Doctor?
Well, the extension of polls, I believe, was done procedurally to the extent you are referring to the extension of polls by the president, or
following a recommendation by the ECN to the head of state.
I think for me, the key is maximum participation. And if you're doing everything to allow people to participate, then that's important. Because it's not that you are favoring anybody, by extending the polls. Because otherwise you will say that, you are favoring somebody. You are extending the polls for all the parties, for all the citizens to participate and to make their own choices.
But you're not opening up all polling stations. You're only opening up certain polling stations in certain constituencies in certain regions.
That's correct. I think of course, that's an administrative issue, but according to the information that I got, is that the polling stations that were open initially were those where complaints were registered and the need identified. And on the basis of that, a decision was taken. Ideally, one would have extended, all the polling stations for people to participate. Because what has happened, whereas it's a particular polling station that was extended because of registering complaint, you see, other people from other polling stations or who were elsewhere had to come to this and again overcrowd it. So that was unfortunate that it was really not open up and allow the process to be. It could have been smoother than when you have a few polling stations and then people would move from even different parts of the country to go to where the open polling stations are.
The fact of the matter at the moment is that all polling stations were closed by 9 o'clock last night. So I do not want to linger too much in what is now the past. But I do want to ask you about this, Doctor. When we vote, in the National Assembly and presidential elections, this country is treated as one constituency. And and also, we do know that we've moved from a regime of 2 voting days to 1 voting day. So part of the administrative challenges are the making, some say, of that change of dispensation from 2 days to 1 day, and also the fact that you may vote wherever it is that you please if you find yourself near a polling station, irrespective of whether or not that polling station is in close proximity or is the one in which you are ordinarily resident, 1, and 2, registered at.
Right. I think on the changing from 2 days to 1 day, I don't have a problem with that. I've seen countries with 10 times the voting population voting in 1 day, and countries with less resources than Namibia. So there is no reason why Namibians cannot vote in 1 day, why we cannot make the facilities available to facilitate that process from happening. And I'm sure the decision to have 1 day presupposes that
Facilities are available.
That facilities are available.
Presupposes all things being
all
equal.
things being equal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So facilities will be available, resources are available, and therefore, I mean, 1 million voters should be able to do it in 1 day that 17 million voters are doing.
Academically, it sounds like a perfect system, Doctor. Yet we know on the ground the practicality of things is that all things are not necessarily equal all the time.
Well, I would still say that, you don't want to legitimize or inefficiency. The fact that we are not voting in 1 day is inefficient. And you say that let's extend, instead of enhancing your efficiency to complete voting within a day, you want to extend and therefore entrenching inefficiency. So I would rather go for the 1 day and do whatever is possible to make it happen, because there is no way we can't do it given our resources and our population.
We have to look ahead at the same time, Doctor.
Yes.
So what is it that we need to do starting now already to enhance our efficiency?
Well, first of all, without really knowing, is meticulous planning. And I wouldn't say whether that happened or not, but obviously, and then hands-on management so that there is rapid response. When you are running short of ballot papers, before you even run out, you should be able to send a signal that, listen, we are running out of ballot papers.
You must anticipate that, is that what you're saying?
Anticipate that before it actually happens.
Based on what it is that you have left and the queues that you see outside.
That you see outside.
Yeah.
And so those are things that can be looked at into the future. And actually, you remember we had this discussion on a similar thing. And I've observed so many elections, within our own country, and we have run into so many of those problems that we, in discussions like this, pointed out, but somehow it doesn't reach the ears of those who make decisions, or is not factored into the planning.
Should we be obliged?
Because what we are going to say here, we are repeating what we have repeated in the last elections and the elections before. And something is not improving.
Doctor, who's to be held responsible for that?
Well, first of all, the Electoral Commission is an independent body, but still, we as stakeholders, political parties and everybody, we are interested parties. And therefore, the preparation of election, the next election almost happened immediately after.
It should be everyone's business. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
It should be everyone's business. And when political parties get reports from the Electoral Commission in terms of the state of preparedness, that's where they should put their views across and raise issues of, how many polling stations, and that information was provided. But what did we anticipate? Maybe we didn't anticipate to say that those are not adequate. And by the time the information were provided, was there enough time to take further action and
intervene.
intervene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Doctor, after the polling stations that were open until yesterday closed at 9 o'clock last night, in the vicinity of 11:30, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Namibia did announce some results of 10 constituencies regarding the presidential race and 15 for National Assembly. What is your take on these results so far?
Well, these are very preliminary results. And I
Not
must...
because they are not final results, but
Yes.
on account of the numbers.
Yes. Yeah. And we've seen in countries when you announce preliminary results, and then those results change dramatically as the final results come. And people were celebrating victory on the basis of preliminary results. And when the final results come, it turns around the tables, and then then we say, oh, we're robbed of our victory, and so forth. So to me, is I don't know whether it's normally done, but it's a dangerous. Well, Namibia, unfortunately, is a peaceful country and stable, and therefore, but in other dispensation, you have people going to the streets. They say they were robbed of results because there were preliminary results that were announced.
Or just a limited number of constituencies.
Or just limited number of constituencies.
Are you saying that that is not ideal, to the piecemeal announcement of results?
I would think that is not ideal. A piecemeal announcement of results is not ideal. Obviously, there are observers at the polling stations. They are posted there. Political parties have a record of that and so forth. But to make an official announcement, I think for me that is not ideal before you have had, final results.
Some of the results announced pertain to constituencies in urban areas, while some of them pertain to results in perhaps more remote rural areas. And again, as you just said, it's early days still. It's premature to infer what the final picture will look like. But based on the results thus far, are we able to get a sense of how the voter behaved in an urban area versus juxtaposed against the manner in which a voter behaves in a rural, remote area?
Well, yes and no. I think the trend that I have seen in most of the countries of the region, there is a clear rural-urban divide in terms of voters' behavior. And the urban areas with frustrations of unemployment and all the challenges that go with it, they tend to blame the government for everything, for their existence, their life
for their own existence, you say?
For their own existence, for the unemployment, and they are hit hard by that. Whereas the rural areas have their own challenges, but they are different challenges. And therefore, there is a trend of being anti-systemic in terms of voting, and then you have a trend of being pro-systemic in terms of voting. I think that has been traditional, but that is only one dimension when you talk about urban versus rural. There are other variables. Historically, what is a strong base or stronghold of a particular party, and so forth. And I think that has been more or less consistent with that trend.
What I'm hearing you say is urban versus rural, you can't just attribute it to one-dimensional factors.
Yes.
Those are multi-dimensional factors at play. Can the same be said of the regional dynamics, the different regional dynamics, and that there are multiple factors at play? And which are those factors, if they are multiple, and what impact do they have on voter behavior?
Yes. Well, first of all is history. Historically, political parties have been active in certain regions, and they have followings there. Issues of service delivery. There have been interventions by government that people benefited from, and therefore appreciate the services of government.
On a regional level?
On a regional level.
Yeah.
But also, we shouldn't forget that there is a general consciousness. There is a general, because political parties are institutions with culture. And this culture is embraced in different constituencies, different age groups differently. And all these factors come to play.
Again, early days.
Yes, again, early days.
Yeah. What are your final thoughts, Doctor? We're hoping to touch base again with you when we're no longer talking of early days, when we have the final results in. But at this juncture, what are your final thoughts?
Well, at this juncture, I would say fairly predictable. The ruling party taking a lead. IPC coming second, and then of course the other parties following there. But as I said, that these are early days, but that is fairly much to be expected.
But is it not a contradiction on your part if you're saying it's early days on the one hand, on the other hand you're saying these results thus far are fairly predictable?
Well, fairly predictable in the sense that, or understandable, I should say. It's early days, but they come from specific constituencies, and you expected the performance of those particular parties in those constituencies in the manner that they did. That's what I mean.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your expertise so generously, Doctor. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Veteran diplomat and seasoned political analyst, Dr. Kai Matundu, with his take on the picture as it stands at this preliminary moment. We'll be back after a break. Of the 2024 National Assembly and presidential elections, many of you may be feeling the weight of uncertainty at this point in time. The process of counting votes and confirming results can sometimes take longer than anticipated, especially in larger or highly contested races. This afternoon, we sit down with Mr. David Saluka. He's the Marketing Communications Manager at the Election Commission of Namibia to help us understand how the process works. Good afternoon, Mr. Saluka, and welcome.
Good afternoon, Denver. Good afternoon to the viewers.
I know we have been saying every day that it's been a long week, it's been a long day, but the reality is that we remain at it.
Exactly. And the eagerness therein.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes. So we have received explanations from the Electoral Commission of Namibia at more than one occasion about how the process works. Once voting that happens at a polling station is done, counting happens under the watch of the presiding officer, from where the results are then uploaded and then sent to the returning officer on constituency level, and then once that process is done, transmitted here. But just walk us through the process in broad strokes very slowly so that we reiterate that message.
Yeah, I think, Denver, let me first touch base because I think the concerns really was why is the commission so quiet? Why are they not announcing results for the 27th of November? Well, you see, there was a proclamation that was put in place to extend the voting in some areas. And according to the law, we cannot start announcing the votes of the election that has not ended yet. And I think that's why you saw the commission only came through last night after the closure of the polls to then announce the first results that were received. Then the process of counting and collating as well as transmitting the results for verification before the actual announcement starts at the polling station. Ballot papers are counted immediately after closure of the polls at polling stations, and then thereafter, this is done actually under the watch of the party agents as well as observers to ensure transparency. After the counting process is done, then those results are collected to a constituency. Every constituency, all the 121 constituencies across the country have a collection center where all the results within their constituencies were then collected and then uploaded to our election result management system for then transmission to the Central Election Results Center, where we are at. And this is where we verify. We look at what we have received from the polling station, what we have received from the constituency level. We compare. If it tallies, if it doesn't tally, we send it back for verification until they are authenticated, and then thereafter, then they can be submitted for signed or for certification as verified and authenticated results before the actual announcement. And that's what we are busy processing now. We are receiving the results from all the collection centers. We verify them. Once they are verified, then we certify, and then we come and announce.
Very well. Now, fair enough, and we did learn, especially yesterday, that although results were available yesterday already, they couldn't be announced because polls were still open at certain polling stations, and the intention was not to influence the voters' conduct of those who still needed to cast their votes. But the follow-up is, following that, and the polls were closed, an announcement was made. Why, since Wednesday, the 27th of November 2024, until late last night, despite only some polling stations in some constituencies across the country having been open, did we only get results for 10 constituencies in the presidential race and 15 constituencies in the National Assembly race?
Well, thank you for that question. You see, although the constituencies, of course, are submitting their results. Like I've mentioned, those results are not guaranteed. They are still subjected to scrutiny in terms of verification, and this verification also takes a process to ensure accuracy before the actual transmission. So whatever we are receiving, we need to verify it against the documentation that are attached already in the system. Remember, uploading is not only done at Central Electoral Results Center, it is done also at the constituency level. So we scrutinize and look at, okay, what did they submit, what are we looking at, then we compare to ensure that the information that is submitted is accurate before actual announcement.
The following question then is, ballot papers are not sent here to be recounted at the Central Elections Results Center. Those results, after having been collated at the collation center on constituency level, are transmitted here for verification. does it depend on whether or not I have internet access at my collation center? Does it depend on whether or not there's vastness in terms of the time that it takes from a polling station to reach the collation center? Because we do know in Zambezi, for instance, 2 helicopters were dispatched because they are hard to reach areas.
Yes.
So which are the factors on a constituency level, on a regional level that play a role and could impact the time it takes and could bring about additional delays?
Well, you see, what happens, Denver, maybe just for clarity, when at a constituency level, at a polling station, when you are reconciling and counting your ballots, you first need to count, you have to account for the unused book, which is the ballot book. You have to account for the used book, the remainder ones. You have to account for the rejected ballots. You have to account for the spoiled ballots. And then you have to account for the counted ballots in total. And that will give you the actual total of the ballot papers that you were allocated. And accounted for. Because you need to come out 100% in terms of accountability for handling the ballot boxes. So before you leave the polling station and before even the party agent signs the results, they need to see to it that the ballot papers are accounted for 100%. So that is how it moves.
The chairperson did explain to us that a rigorous process is followed, understanding that Namibians are eager to hear the results, but you need to be meticulous in the manner that you go about it.
Yes.
Apart from what you explained, are you saying that there's a lot going on behind the scenes to ensure what is ultimately announced is in fact a true depiction of what the voter had decided at the booth?
Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, we are doing all due diligence to ensure that we announce the results, the accurate results that reflects the will of the people.
In the event that I'm a party agent, I'm saying, but no, I don't agree. It's not a true reflection of what I saw when I was observing the process. Are there avenues where I can register, where my dissatisfaction can be recorded?
Well, in our police stations, we have deployed occurrence books where party agents and observers or even electorate could register their complaints. As you look around the Central Results Center, you will see that each and every political party that is contesting this election has been allocated a booth and a computer. This is for them to access and verify whatever the final results are.
The day before yesterday in the evening, the chairperson did say to the political party agents who were present at the time, in fact one who had posed a question during the briefing about when the results would be made available to them, and she indicated it would start on that evening, which is 2 days ago. So is that exactly what happens here?
Yes.
If I'm not here as an agent of a political party?
You can also follow online platforms as we announce. But the good thing is if you are here, you can also follow and look at how we are, processing this.
In some jurisdictions, they make use of what is referred to as provisional ballots. Is that something that pertains to our jurisdiction? And if yes, how does it relate to what we're doing here?
No, we do not have anything that is referred to as provisional ballots. Of course, in the past, we used to have what we called a standard ballot, where people could vote in their constituency by means of posting an envelope. However, in this current act, we have a mandate to ensure that Namibians are allowed to vote everywhere where they find themselves. But then there is a certain form that you need to complete, or the presiding officer will then have to complete to indicate that you are voting outside your constituency. And this is to ensure that we do not have cases where a constituency records 115% of its turnout without accounting for the 15% that is on top.
Now, as a communications practitioner, you do know how critical it is to allay fears. We do see a surge in misinformation, disinformation during waiting periods that are characterized often by uncertainty. So why thus do you believe it's important for Namibians to understand the context of a waiting period, to understand the context of why on the 1st of December 2024 we don't have final results yet at this moment?
Yeah, I think what we need to understand as a country, and also try to, it's the process of elections. I think for the first time in the lifetime or in the history of this country, we have elections being extended, and that was mainly due to some challenges that the Commission has encountered in terms of as announced. So from the process where it closed yesterday, the Commission is working quite hard around the clock to ensure that we make the final announcement of these results. And we wish to, appeal for calm and patience as we await the official results of the 2024 Presidential and National Assembly election, but also most importantly to rely mostly on the sources provided by the Commission in terms of the accuracy of the results that are being disseminated out there. Of course, everyone has their access to results. That's the one good transparent part of our election system, because counting is done at polling station, and then after counting is done at polling station, it is collected at the constituency level. So everyone knows that the constituency level has an access to screenshot those results and also make their own conclusions or calculations in terms of tallying the results. But bottom line is that the Commission has the exclusive authority to announce the official results of any elections or referenda on the Namibian soil.
Thank you for the explanation, Mr. Suluka. Late yesterday afternoon, a media outlet reported that they had received information that ballot boxes were exchanged or handed over from one vehicle to another, and this report was coupled with a picture of that purported exchange of ballot boxes, seemingly in the absence of police officers. The author of the report then late last night asked the chairperson about it. At the time, the chairperson said that firstly, the Commission has not received any such official report, and secondly, in the event that ballot boxes are transported, it must always be in the presence of police officers. Are you able to tell us more about that at this stage?
Of course, as the chairperson has indicated, the Commission has not received an official report on that. And however, I think we are not privy to the comments made. It's something that the Commission is considering with due diligence, and I think the Commission will pronounce its position on that.
We do know that in a short while, the Commission will address the Namibian nation again. Yes. We don't want you to let the cat out of the bag because that may not be your mandate. Yes. But for Namibians who want to get ready to tune in, may you just give us an indication as to what may be on the agenda this afternoon?
Well, on the agenda this afternoon, we'll be transmitting live from the Central Election Results Center here in Windhoek at the Electoral Commission of Namibia. And of course, with the courtesy of the national broadcaster, we'll be live on the NBC TV, as well as the social media platforms. So you can follow us from 15:30 to get the official announcement of the results received from various constituencies across the country.
So more results are on the cards?
More results are on the cards, and of course it's for presidential as well as National Assembly elections. But you can also follow us on our mobile application, that is an ECN mobile application, both for Android and Apple Store. Of course, you can also follow us on our portal on the website, that is at www.elections.na.
Any final thoughts?
Well, Namibia, it's our democracy. We just need to practice patience as we await for the final results of the Presidential and National Assembly elections. Good enough, we have we have demonstrated to the whole entire world that we are a democracy that thrives by turning out in large numbers. Of course, we haven't observed such a large turnout probably in some years back.
Look, indication yet of the turnout?
We don't have the actual figures of the turnout, but from observation, you could literally see that there was more interest compared to the previous years.
Lutumezi,
Shangwe.
thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
And good luck to you and your team. You have your work cut out for you.
Yes, we do.
Until the final results
Final
are
results
indeed announced.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you have it, the spokesperson of the Electoral Commission of Namibia, Mr. David Suluka, walking us through the process it takes to cast your vote until results are announced in the Central Elections Results Centre by the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Namibia, Dr. Elsie Nyikembo. Speaking of which, at 3:30, that's in a couple of minutes, the chairperson will address the Namibian nation again as more results are available. Late last night, she announced results for 10 constituencies regarding the presidential race and 15 constituencies as far as the National Assembly is concerned. So Mr. Suluka is confirming to us that more final results are available and they are to be announced shortly. Keep it locked here on your home channel. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us. We're coming to you live from the Central Elections Results Centre here at the headquarters of the Electoral Commission of Namibia. My name is Denver Kisting. If you've just joined us, a very good afternoon to you and yours. It's Sunday, 1 December 2024. Now, reporting on elections is not an easy task. It's no walk in the park. It requires inter alia dedication, paying close attention to detail and having a strong connection to and with the community in which you find yourself. This afternoon we're joined by one of our veterans, Mr. Leslie Shweda, who was stationed in the Omaheke region the last couple of days and who brought us coverage alongside the team with him. Good afternoon, colleague, and welcome back to the capital.
Well, no, thank you so much.
Yes. How was the experience? Thank you for the great body of work that you put together alongside your team and bringing us those views and insights from the people of Omaheke. But what is the experience? What was it like for you?
The experience was very overwhelming because I remember just at least 2 days before the election itself, there was that blackout where there was no campaign or anything. So it was really nice and calm. But then on the day, it was super overwhelming. The number of people that actually turned out. I remember I was at the Apako Community Hall, and that was the first station of the polling station that I came to, and I actually had to count. I think it was a queue of about 240 something people, and in that queue, I think I counted over 140 people that are at least over the age of 40 or so, one would say. And then I was concerned, but then how wrong I was. And then I went to the other polling station into Kalahari and into town and so on. And the amount of young people or the youth that have actually turned out really showed that the battleground of this election was going to be fought with swaying the youth one way or the other.
Now, that anticipation, that enhanced interest has been reported across the board, both by reporters, by analysts, by party agents, by observers. From the perspective of someone who needed to give account to the nation of what it is that you were witnessing and to ask hard-hitting questions and to gauge views, which were the primary challenges that you faced in that process?
I think one of the primary challenges that I faced and my team that we had on the ground was the flow of information. It was a big challenge because once you in an election time, information is crucial because you need to be able to know whether or where we stand with the certain process. Like, for example, when ballot papers were finished, you needed to find out as to when will the ballot papers be coming at this particular polling station.
And was your job to find that out?
Well, obviously you needed to go and speak to the presiding officers so that they can give you the information. But for them, it looked like there was a whole chain of command of information or stops that they needed to go to. So that was a challenge. We couldn't get the information accurately and on time. And even when after the results were collected at the coalition center, you will then go like, okay, so all the ballot papers and the ballot boxes are here. Where do we stand? Why are we not announcing? And those information were not forthcoming. And
just one moment. At polling station level, after counting happened, are you saying that at some polling stations the presiding officer would not, after counting, post the results outside the polling station?
See, in Omaheke, and I even had a chat with Dr. John Nakuda, the media ombudsman, who was in his capacity as a media lecturer from the University of Namibia then, where we had encountered this problem that the counting needed to take place at the polling station, which did take place. And after the counting had taken place, those figures had to be pasted and displayed at those polling stations. Yes. But that could not happen in the Omaheke region, especially in the Khobabes constituency, because the returning officer or the standing order there was that the information had to be verified by the coalition center before they are able to post it. For example, you take some of the mobile stations or mobile teams, they in fact return back without having had to do any postings out there. So the flow of information and the order of things was a little bit upside down. That was one of the biggest challenges that we had as far as reporting on the election.
How did the community respond to your presence? How did the community respond to your coverage of what was unfolding?
The community obviously, whenever they see cameras, and at that point there's a sense of anticipation where everyone really wanted to go out there and make sure that they cast their vote. So the community was in anticipation of what was to come. So whenever we needed to have interviews, They were really forthcoming. Everyone telling you that I really want to vote so that my vote can be counted, so that the political party that I want, or the candidate that I want, or the a party that I want to go and represent my interest in Parliament can also be advanced. So it was really good. We really had some very good stories and some sad stories. Unfortunately, it's never just one way. The good stories is where some of the young people, one went in and then he came out, and then he was like, I don't understand, why is my vote in a pencil? I really made sure that my pencil was nice and hard.
Very well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those were some of the eagerness that we had.
As far as that concerned, we did hear the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Namibia, Dr. Elsie Kemwa, respond to a question in that regard here in the Central Elections Results Centre. Thus far in Namibia, in all elections, we've only used the pencil thus far. But what one has to add for purposes of context, counting once polling closes at a polling station happens in the presence of party agents, whether it's with pen or with pencil. And our custom has always been, the chairperson said, with pencil. Be that as it may, at the present moment, we're also on standby as more results are expected to be announced by the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Namibia, as just indicated a short while ago during our engagement with Mr. David Saluka, who's the spokesperson of the Electoral Commission of Namibia. So do keep it locked here. We'll bring you that announcement as soon as it takes place. Now, colleague, the reality of the matter is, despite the very serious responsibility that vests in us as journalists to try and remain objective, we are human beings. We comprise two, flesh and blood. How did you go about ensuring that you remain not only accurate but also unbiased? Also having heard you just share with us that you've heard some sad stories. So you've heard stories, in other words, that invoked some emotions. But how do you go about remaining objective, remaining unbiased?
Yeah, I think it's very important to be able to understand that the very moment once you get into journalism or a reporter, that you have to be unbiased. You don't have to be subjective, you have to be very objective. And the stories that I'm talking about is regardless of what political party the person comes from, that was immaterial. But what the sad stories that I'm talking about is about the people came forward and they would tell you that I didn't get a chance to vote because the ballot paper had ran out. And there was this young man who was saying that it's not that I was late to the polling station, I was right there. And all I needed to do was just to make my cross, but I couldn't make it because the polling station that was at the point where we were was a mobile polling station. So once their ballot papers had ran out, they needed to move on. So they had to arrange another vehicle to move on and so on. So those are the things. And like I said, it's a case of divorcing yourself from whatever emotions and whatever affiliation you might feel, and for you to then be able to try and tell the story of that particular individual, to say that so-and-so person couldn't get a chance to vote, and that's all there is to it. It's not a case of to vote for who. It's not about that. It's about them crossing their mark. And as soon as they go in there, I know that we've said it in the election education about the importance of making sure that that vote is a secret. And it really has been that case, and we've looked at it from that concept to try and make sure that you've divorced yourself from whatever emotions you feel, because at the end of the day, it's not about me. I am irrelevant. Whenever you go into that equation, the journalist or the reporter is irrelevant. It's about what is the next person think.
Right of reply is also a very important concept. It's one thing for me to allege that, listen, my brother Leslie, I've been standing in this queue since 3 o'clock this morning. In fact, by midnight, no polling official had arrived, no ballot papers were anywhere to be seen, and I couldn't participate. But I could be lying to you. I could be making a claim that is untruthful. Do we also have a responsibility to verify whether or not what we are being fed amounts to any form and any version of the truth?
Yes, it is very important because the thing about us media personnel is that you have to check, double check, and almost triple check whatever you've been fed, because sometimes it might not be the truth that it is. But then it takes me way back to my first statement that I said about the challenges that we face. It's about the flow of information, where you would be asking at the point where you are, like why is, for example, the Oshanbinte constituency, why have they not been having ballot papers for the past 3 hours? And you would then have to go to the electoral officer for the region, and they will tell you that no, we'll be waiting for another polling station to be able to provide that. But at the end of the day, and you say that, but this particular station couldn't be able to get that, and the answer was that the people had to move from there to go to the next point. But also, it's very important, and also when doing those analysis or when getting those right of reply, that is when you get to see that this particular individual, it's not that they didn't want to vote, they wanted to vote, they were there, but now they are given another burden of, like, move out of your comfort zone or wherever it is that you've come for, another 14 kilos to go and get the vote, which we have done. We have really double checked and we checked it, and that is why it was sort of like a bone of contention. It was a question that kept on propping up, even when I think it was last night when that question was being asked over and over and again, that what were the criteria or the metrics that were used to be able to select some of the polling station over others, which as far as the commission is or how they answered, they said that it was sufficient enough because they got that from their returning officers, but obviously if you read in between the lines and is able to listen, you would see that that question was rather not satisfactorily answered.
I have to reiterate, though, that question was asked at more than one occasion, colleague, and the ECN has at more than one occasion explained the criteria used to decide on which polling stations that would be open during the extension of the polls on Friday and on Saturday. So just for purposes of the record, you did share with us in your introductory overview that you had observed how many people had turned up to participate, and despite these challenges that they faced of the ballot papers running out, of the queues being long, of the scorching heat, I would imagine. Omayeke must be nice and hot during this time of the year. It's summer in this country. We understand in the Gobabis constituency alone, close to 10,000 people had cast their vote in the end, despite those realities. What's your take on the persistence, on the endurance, on the tenacity, perhaps on the resilience of the people?
Well, it was very admirable, where you see people that really want to make sure that their civic duty is performed, because when all has been said and done and they have listened, all they wanted to do was to be able to exercise their one power, which was to go and vote the candidate or the political party in power which they wanted. And it was really admirable, I should say, the way they conducted themselves. There was no political party regalias that you would see there. People would stand in an orderly fashion. It's like it was a scorching heat, and that is what one could say, that we are a peaceful nation, and it's commendable.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the great work that you did in Omayeke. We appreciate you, and we're happy that you're back safely.
Thank you.
That was our colleague Leslie Shweda. He was responsible for coverage of these elections in the Great Omayeke region, just bringing us up to speed with his experience. Now, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Namibia, Dr. Elsie Nyikembwa, is ready to announce more results in the just concluded National Assembly and presidential elections in Namibia.
Good afternoon, fellow Namibians. As we speak here this afternoon, I wish to reassure you that the Commission's work is progressing well. The process of receiving, verifying, and certifying the remaining results is ongoing. This is a meticulous exercise that requires absolute precision to ensure that every vote is accurately accounted for. We are fully aware of the anticipation across the country as we await the complete results of these elections. However, it is important to underscore the complexity of this process. The Commission is dedicated to ensuring that every vote cast during the electoral process, whether during special voting, on the main voting day, or during the extended voting period, is treated with the highest level of integrity. We therefore appeal to all Namibians to continue exercising patience and understanding as we complete this crucial phase. The hallmark of a credible election is not speed, but accuracy and transparency. Announcement of results. Fellow Namibians, since the announcement of yesterday, the Commission received more results from the constituency collation centers and has also verified and certified the results, which I will announce now. Today we have results of 13 constituencies in respect of the presidential elections and the results of 10 constituencies in respect of the National Assembly elections, which have been verified and certified by the Commission. In accordance with Section 109 and 110 of the Electoral Act No. 5 of 2014, I now announce the following results for the 2024 Presidential and National Assembly elections. Starting with the presidential election, Ngamingu's constituency in Karas region, 71 ballot papers have been rejected, 8,141 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. Ampanda AR 121, 121, Amthenu COD 8, Kaobaib UDF 8, Itula IPC 3076, 3076, Karonda Swanu 5, Kavekotora RDP 7, Kumbwa APP 19, Likua UNP 13, March RP 18, Mukwilongo NEFF 33, Ndaitwa Swapo 3713, 3713, Shumbwa ADM 5, Swarboy LPM 917, 917, Thomas BCP 9, Venani PDM 189. Moving on to Aranda's constituency in Erongo region, 67 ballot papers have been rejected, 8,431 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. Ampanda AR 173, 173, Amthenu COD 8, Kaobaib UDF 411, Itula IPC 3669, 3669, Karonda Swanu 18, Kavekotora RDP 15, Kumbwa APP 19, Likua UNP 15, March RP 231, 231, Mukwilongo NEFF 45, Ndaitwa Swapo 2901, 2901, Shumbwa ADM 16, Swarboy LPM 518, 518, Thomas BCP 19, Venani 373, 373. Walvis Bay Rural Constituency in Erongo Region, 216 ballot papers have been rejected, 16,117 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. Ampanda AR 343, Amthenu COD 9, Kaubaib UDF 154, 154, Itula IPC 8158, 8158. Karonda Swanu 25, Kavekotora RDP 14, Kumbwa APP 24, Likua UNP 32, March RP 52, Mukwilongo NEFF 68, Ndaitwa Swapo 6202, 6202, Shumbwa ADM 14, Swart Boy LPM 556, 556, Thomas BCP 41, Benani PDM 425, 425. Gibeon constituency in the Hartap region, 97 ballot papers have been rejected, 3,098 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. Ampanda AR 8, Amthenu COD 6, Kaubaib UDF 5, Itula IPC 153, 153, Karonda Swanu 3, Kavekotora RDP 3, Kumbwa APP 23, Likua UNP 6, March RP 16, Mukwilongo NEFF 8, Ndaitwa Swapo 1267, 1267, Shumbwa ADM 8, Swart Boy LPM 1544, 1544. Thomas BCP 2, Benani PDM 46. Musese constituency in Kavango West region. 102 ballot papers have been rejected. 4,014 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. Ampanda AR 25, Amthenu COD 2, Kaubaib UDF 3, Itula IPC 320, 320, Karonda Swanu 4, Kavekotora RDP 5, Kumbwa APP 147, 147, Likua UNP 38, March RP 2, Mukwilongo NEFF 11, Ndaitwa Swapo 3,181, 3181, Shumbwa ADM 17, Swart Boy LPM 9, Thomas Festus BCP 2, Benani 248. Moving on to Oshikunde constituency in Ohangwena region, 57 ballot papers have been rejected, 7,208 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. Ampanda AR 49, Amthenu COD 2, Kaubaib UDF 1, Itula IPC 598, Karonda Swanu 2, Kavekotora RDP 6, Kumbwa APP 0, Likua UNP 1, March RP 3, Mukwilongo NEFF 17, Ndaitwa Swapo 6,410, 6410, Shumbwa ADM 11, Swart Boy LPM 3, Thomas BCP 82, Benani PDM 23. Hobabes constituency in Omaheke region. 146 ballot papers have been rejected, 9,935 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. Ampanda AR 115, Amthenu COD 24, Kaobaib UDF 37, Itula IPC 2040, 2040. Karonda Swanu 317, Kavekotora RDP 50, Kubwa APP 74, Likua UNP 38, Mach RP 554, Mukwilongo NEFF 28, Ndaitwa Swapo 4652, 4652, Shumbwa ADM 26, Swarpoi LPM 1333, Thomas BCP 15, Benani PDM 632. Ompunja constituency in Oshana region, 28 ballot papers have been rejected, 2,642 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. Ampanda AR 32, Amthenu COD 3, Kaobaib UDF 1, Itula IPC 572, 572. Karonda Swanu 1, Kavekotora RDP 1, Kumbwa APP 0, Likua UNP 0, March RP 0, Mukilongo NEFF 1515, Ndaitwa Swapo 1988, 1988. Shumbwa ADM 3, Swarpoi LPM 1, Thomas Festus BCP 1616, Benani PDM 9. Ubudhia constituency in Oshana region, 22 ballot papers have been rejected, 2,784 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. Ampanda AR 31, Amthenu COD 2, Kaobaib UDF 66, Itula IPC 426, Karonda Swanu 2, Kavekotora RDP 1, Kumbwa APP 3, Likua UNP 3, Mach RP 1, Mukwilongo NEFF 7, Ndaitwa Swapo 2176, 2176. Shumbwa ADM 3, Swarpoi LPM 35, Thomas Festus BCP 15, Benani 13. Okatana constituency in Oshana region, 104 ballot papers have been rejected, 9,479 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. Ampanda AR 178, Amthenu COD 11, Kaobaib UDF 2, Itula IPC 2511, 2511. Karonda Swanu 1, Kavekotora RDP 6, Kumbwa APP 7, Likua UNP 1, March RP 2, Mukwilongo NEFF 84, Ndaitwa Swapo Party 6,575, 6575. Shumbwa ADM 2, Swarpoi LPM 11, Festus BCP 27, Venani PDM 61. Onipa constituency in Oshikoto region, 88 ballot papers have been rejected, 8,722 have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. Ampanda AR 130, Amthenu COD 10, Kaobaib UDF 2, Itula IPC 3051, 3051. Karonda Swanu 8, Kavekotora RDP 14, Kumbwa APP 6, Likua UNP 0, March RP 4, Mkwilongo NEFF 21, Ndaitwa Swapo Party 5,352, 5352. Shumbwa ADM 13, Swartboy LPM 28, Festus BCP 34, Benani PDM 49. We move on to Buena's constituency in Oshikoto region. 97 ballot papers have been rejected, 3,490 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. Ampanda AR 41, Amthenu COD 7, Kaubaib UDF 21, Itula IPC 568, Karonda Swanu 7, Kavekotora RDP 7, Kumbwa APP 11, Likua UNP 6, March RP 37, Mkwilongo NEFF 11, Ndaitwa Swapo Party 2,156, Shumbwa ADM 14, Swartboy LPM 504, Festus BCP 9, Benani PDM 91. Okankolo constituency in Oshikoto region. 67 ballot papers have been rejected, 6,260 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. Ampanda AR 64, Amthenu COD 3, Kaubaib UDF 1, Itula IPC 1039, 1039, Karonda Swanu 2, Kavekotora RDP 3, Kumbwa APP 2, Likua UNP 2, March RP 1, Mkwilongo NEFF 18, Ndaitwa Swapo Party 4,997, 4997. Shumbwa ADM 14, Swartboy LPM 5, Thomas BCP 104, Benani PDM 5. That's the end of the presidential results for this afternoon. We now move on to the National Assembly results, starting with Beersheba constituency in Karas region. 79 ballot papers have been rejected, 4,860 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. ADM 9, AR 54, APP 30, BCP 4, CDV 2, COD 12, IPC 246, 246, LPM 2048, 2048, NEFF 19, NDP 10, NEFC 3, NPF 9, NUDO 11, PDM 424, 424, RDP 10, RP 51, SWANU 13, SWAPO 1,860, 1860, UDF 13, UNP 7, UPM 25. We move on to Daures constituency in Erongo region. 97 ballot papers have been rejected. 5,680 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. ADM 28, AR 154, APP 24, BCP 17, CDV 16, COD 24, IPC 918, 918, LPM 368, 368, NEFF 46, NDP 9, NEFC 13, NPF 21, NUDO 169, PDM 759, 759, RDP 37, RP 32, SWANU 234, 234, SWAPO Party 1593, 1593, UDF 1199, 1199, UNP 14, UPM 5. Aranos constituency in the Hartap region, 70 ballot papers have been rejected. 4,171 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. ADM 11, AR 52, APP 43, BCP 7, CDV 4, COD 10, IPC 559, LPM 1,178, NEFF 12, NDP 3, NEFC 4, NPF 6, NUDO 18, PDM 202, RDP 14, RP 447, SWANU 25, SWAPO Party 1,546, UDF 11, UNP 7, UPM 12. We move on to Gibeon constituency in Hartap region. 128 ballot papers have been rejected. 3,056 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. ADM 9, AR 22, APP 29, BCP 3, CDV 3, COD 4, IPC 105, LPM 1,561, NEFF 13, NDP 5, NEFC 2, NPF 2, NUDO 5, PDM 51, RDP 5, RP 16, SWANU 11, SWAPO Party 1,185, UDF 9, UNP 6, UPM 10. Gobabes constituency in Omaheke region. 158 ballot papers have been rejected. 9,869 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. ADM 25, AR 356, APP 76, BCP 19, CDV 18, COD 31, IPC 1,442, LPM 1,438, NEFF 66, NDP 47, NEFC 19, NPF 24, NUDO 218, PDM 708, RDP 40, RP 613, SWANU 405, SWAPO Party 4,212, UDF 50, UNP 38, UPM 24. Ukwiu constituency in Oshana region. 73 ballot papers have been rejected. 5,850 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. ADM 44, AR 467, APP 5, BCP 56, CDV 7, COD 23, IPC 1,519, LPM 15, NEFF 41, NDP 5, NEFC 57, NPF 10, NUDO 5, PDM 41, RDP 2, RP 4, SWANU 18, SWAPO Party 3,522, UDF 4, UNP 3, UPM 2. Okatana constituency in Oshana region. 167 ballot papers have been rejected. 9,414 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. ADM 4, AR 787, APP 2, BCP 40, CDV 9, COD 26, IPC 1,955, LPM 19, NEFF 284, NDP 6, NEFC 40, NPF 3, NUDO 5, PDM 100, RDP 11, RP 5, SWANU 13, SWAPO 6,093, 6093, UDF 10, UNP 2, UPM 0. Ubudia constituency in Oshana region. 23 ballot papers have been rejected, 2,783 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. ADM 3, AR 110, APP 5, BCP 18, CDV 5, COD 2, IPC 348, LPM 38, NEFF 30, NDP 3, NEFC 6, NPF 1, NUDO 5, PDM 25, RDP 1, RP 2, SWANU 4, SWAPO 2,103, UDF 70, UNP 2, UPM 2. Omuntele constituency in Oshikoto region. 151 ballot papers have been rejected. 8,652 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. ADM 5, AR 292, APP 2, BCP 27, CDV 56, COD 7, IPC 2042, 2042, LPM 9, NEFF 36, NDP 11, NEFC 47, NPF 6, NUDO 8, PDM 30, RDP 7, RP 4, SWANU 23, SWAPO 6006, 6006, UDF 22, UNP 5, UPM 7. Okay, the last results for this afternoon is from Kabe North constituency in Zambezi region. 51 ballot papers have been rejected, 3,161 votes have been counted, and that the votes counted have been recorded for. ADM 2, AR 81, APP 10, BCP 9, CDV 2, COD 4, IPC 603-603, LPM 25, NEFF 8, NDP 147, NEFC 5, NPF 12, NUDO 14, PDM 163, RDP 19, RP 3, SWANU 4, SWAPO 2021-2021, UDF 5, UNP 1, UPM 23. Those were the results that were certified by the Commission for announcement this afternoon. Are there any questions from the media? No questions. Thank you, and we'll come out in the evening. Oh, sorry, there's a hand.
Sorry, just one question quickly. Yesterday there was a press conference by the IPC saying that they, whatever the outcome is of the results, they won't accept the results. Just how do you respond seeing that one of your stakeholders has come out to declare that whatever the result is, they won't accept them for, I'm sure, reasons that we all know here? Thanks.
That is not our call to make, and we'll deal with it as and when it comes. Thank you. A hand, so we'll meet again in the evening. We'll alert you an hour before. I can't make a commitment what time it will be because we're still clearing the results. Thank you.
Welcome back. That, of course, was the chairperson of the Electoral Commission of Namibia, Dr. Elsie Nkemba, with more results as far as the presidential race is concerned. She announced 13 more constituencies after the 10 that were announced last night, which means 23 constituencies of the 121 for the presidential race have been announced and 98 are pending. Regarding the National Assembly, last night we received confirmed results for 15 constituencies, and this afternoon the chairperson announced 10. So at the moment, 25 of constituencies on a National Assembly level have been announced, which means 96 are still pending. The chairperson did give the undertaking that this evening more results are to be announced. For now, we cross over to Studio 1 for the news highlights, and we'll see you a bit later.
as we continue with the election talks, so let's now head over to our colleagues who are finding themselves in Keetmanshoop, and that is Natangwe Jimmy. Natangwe Jimmy, good morning, and it's over to you.
Thank you so much, Ndapewa. As you rightfully said, of course, we are broadcasting here live from the Keetmanshoop Coalition Center, where the elections materials are being brought slowly from all the constituencies here in the Karas region. You would also know that, elections took place yesterday, which was the 27th of November, where voters throughout the Karas region participated in the presidential and national assembly elections. Now, also, we had the opportunity yesterday to speak to few people here at various polling stations. So let's just take some of the sights and sounds of what happened and transpired yesterday.